Wine and cheese get all the headlines, but many cheese lovers think beer is better. I'm Vivia Gugnani here at Murray's Cheese Shop in Greenwich Village, New York, a true cheese lover's paradise. So let's go behind the burner and meet the experts to learn why beer and cheese is better. So I'm here with beer expert and brewmaster Garrett Oliver from Brooklyn Brewery. Garrett, I have had wine and cheese many times, but I've not had beer and cheese. So tell me, what is the first thing I need to think about?
Well, the first thing you need to realize is you've been missing out because
I have been missing out.
the actual true pairing for cheese is actually beer. Beer comes from essentially the same place that the cheese comes from. I mean, you have grass, which is barley, and it gets made into these various wonderful milks, and it gets made into cheese. Grapes, I'm afraid, they have nothing to do with grass.
So they have the common home, which makes a natural extension for great pairing.
Absolutely, and this really provides the basis for the harmonies that you're going to get between the beer and the cheese.
So what's different about pairing wine and cheese and pairing beer and cheese?
Well, the big difference is that with wine, you're looking at mostly contrast. You have grape and fruit flavors versus salt versus acidity and the other flavors that you have in cheese. Beer has a much wider range of flavors. It can be roasted, it can be caramelized. You're going to use those flavors to work with the cheese, plus the secret weapon, carbonation.
I know, I was going to say the carbonation of the beer actually keeps your palate very fresh and ready to experience all the flavors of the cheese. It is like scrubbing bubbles.
It lifts all that fat off your palate and allows all the flavors to come back tasting fresh. So you're really going to engage the cheese in a completely different way than wine does, which is why when we do wine versus beer with cheese, I win.
So let's taste some beer and cheese.
Well, let's start at the beginning. Here we have a wonderful beer from Maine called Allagash White. This is made partly from malted barley and partly from raw wheat. But the special thing about it is that it is spiced with Curacao orange peel and coriander.
Wow,
now this is really traditional.
Very exotic.
Just as with wine, you get the beer around the glass, and white wine glasses are great.
I was just
and you
say,
smell it.
Why are we drinking out of a wine glass?
Because these are glasses that are actually made for tasting. And it has a bowl to it, so you can really, you have to be able to smell it.
To taste your beer in a wine glass, another great tip from Garrett Oliver, because it's a great way to taste.
And never over chill. See, if you have mass market beer, you can chill it down because there's no actual flavor that much to taste. But when you have something that's really got nice flavors, give it a few degrees warmer and let it open up.
So what's an ideal temperature?
I would say 45 degrees Fahrenheit is an average best temperature for real beer.
So that's great. And so are you thinking at all about the color? So what cheese are we gonna have with this?
The color, not as much. What I am thinking about is what kind of milk is it? Is it a bright, fresh flavor? How is this beer going to engage this cheese? And what I'm looking at first is a goat cheese. So here we have our La Coupole. Beautiful. And you look at the classic crumbly texture. It's got a little bit of age on it, nice bloomy rind.
Yeah.
And what's this cheese about? Acidity, brightness. What you get from goat cheese, of course, salt, always part of that. Absolutely. And look at the way the sort of citrusy character here engages the citrusy character in the cheese. So you have to eat.
It takes a little bite. I put the whole thing in my mouth. The goat cheese is fantastic. It's so creamy. It's just, my palate is just melting.
And now taste it with the beer. And see the way these two things go together. Now look at the
citrus notes.
Look at the pasty quality of this cheese. The way it coats your tongue. A lot of wines would bounce off.
So this was a match made in heaven. This is a pass, Garrett.
Right. I'm glad I passed. It's good to pass. I hate fail. Fail is bad.
And so you were talking about the color a little bit.
Well, here you have a little bit more color. Obviously, rather a lot more color. And this is from caramelized malts. These malts have been, some of them have been roasted like coffee beans. Some have been turned into caramel. Now, you can certainly engage lots of different flavors with that. But with a cheese like this, you look at the color actually does tell you something. This is a cheese that's starting to age. It's starting to take on some color. It's a little bit browner, a little bit richer yellow. And this will tend to have nutty flavors that are going to be picked up on by the caramel flavors in this beer. So you can see the color that you have here, it really ties directly into the nutty caramelization that you have in the cheese. And so these two dive one into the other, and you see the way the harmony just comes together like this. With a wine, you could have a nice pairing, but the pairing would be about contrast. It's fruit versus nuttiness, rather than nuttiness and caramelization kind of together.
This is all about harmony. So beer and cheese, harmonies, blending flavors, complementary
These two
stuff.
almost seem like they were made to go with each other. See, the beer,
I can attest to that.
the beer is the beer version of the cheese. And then finally, when you want to go big, it's time for Barleywine style beer. And this
I'm ready
is
to go big.
You're ready to go big. Well, okay, here we go. Bigfoot, in fact. Now, I noticed on the cap, it tells me 2005. This is actually a type of beer that is meant to be able to age. And so it's
nice.
quite strong at about 10%.
Cheers.
Yes, it is the afternoon, but that's okay.
I can drink this beer anytime. This is actually my favorite of the three.
And it smells almost like sherry. It has all these nutty flavors, all these caramelized flavors.
Huge amount of body and like flavor, and it's just very robust.
And it has power.
It does, it does. This is a man's beer. I like this one.
And so you need a man's cheese to go with a man's beer.
Okay.
And Rogue Creamery's blue cheese, it's got oomph to it. And I think
I
you're
can do
gonna.
oomph.
You can do oomph. There
I
you
can
go.
do oomph.
It's not just a man's cheese anymore. So now check out how big that is. It has the Stilton type quality, the
Yeah, it
boom,
does.
tons of salt, and this has got a lot of residual sweetness. And see, this is the real trick. You can do sweetness and harmony and contrast at the same time.
This has got a tremendous amount of saltiness, but it's kind of a refined saltiness.
Indeed.
It's like it kind of encompasses your palate, but it's creamy at the same time.
Even way in the background, fudge.
And the beer is
It's huge.
It's bold.
It's bold. We're talking
Bold.
about an explosion of flavor here.
It
I'm
is
not
an
sure this room
explosion.
can even contain this much flavor.
That is true. So tell us about some traditional pairings of beer and cheese and kind of how it's been done over the generations.
Well, of course, beer and cheese together, it has been the peasant's lunch, if you like. They call it the plowman's lunch in England. It's some ham, some really good cheese, and some beer. So these are both things that come off of a farm. The same person who's doing the farming would be also making the cheese, making the beer, making the bread, and they were all part of a farmhouse lifestyle.
That's a
so
talented
all these
person.
things really go together. Exactly. And a very busy person. But during the winter months, when the farmer can't really be out in the fields, he would be brewing. And he couldn't really be brewing during the summer in the old days before refrigeration. So it all kind of worked together year round.
That's great. Well, cheers. Thanks so much for having us.
Hey, it's great to see you.
For Q&A, photos, and more, visit BehindTheBurner.com. Stay tuned to Behind the Burner, where we give you the tips, tricks, and techniques that are lighting the culinary world on fire.